and the liabilities. And I have shared the details of that net worth in the questionnaire, which I have already submitted.
Yes, Honorable Kaluma, you have questions for the nominee?
Yeah, I thank you, Chair. Chair, I've put it on record that I know the nominee. The only part I needed to add is that in terms of academic qualification and competence, the nominee was among the best in his class. And I came a year after and I was among the best, if not the best, in our class. Chair, if you look at the records, the nominee got a second class honors upper division. This was the highest in their year. There was no first class.
That's true, Chairman.
Yes, that is true. This was the highest. And at that time, Chair, I remember it would take even 20 years before you get a first class at the University of Nairobi, more so at the Faculty of Law.
Please go to your question, Honorable Kaluma.
I'm going to my question, Chair. Chair, I'm going to my question. But Chair, let me clarify this because it is important. I've also looked at his KCSE certificate. And Chair, I'm putting this because of the matter of Chapter 6. And the nominee got also an A-. And Chair, this is the time when A-
Honorable Kaluma
was A-. Chair, let me therefore now proceed to make my questions.
Because now you are becoming the nominee's lawyer. You know?
No, you know, Chair, there is a reason as to why we bring these papers, or we get these papers for them for interrogation.
Chair.
Take us through the questions.
Chair.
Please, don't
take us through the question you have for the
Chair, I've interrupted. I should not be interrupted. I've done vetting for 14 years now. I know what I'm doing.
The nominee is present.
Yes, Chair, let me now ask my questions. Nominee, you have been nominated. Chair, there is a lot of interruption. I think we are diminishing the importance of this process. You've been nominated to be the CEO, come Director General of the Financial Reporting Center. Tell us some core functions or roles of the center and how your nomination or Parliament to approve your appointment would enhance the functioning of the center. That is my question number one. The roles and functions of the Financial Reporting Center. So we need to know you are going to a place you know. Number two, we have a very rich body of laws around anti-money laundering and around these issues to which body you have been nominated. And yet we still have a big challenge with money laundering, terrorism financing, and other transnational crimes. Where, based on your knowledge and experience, is the gap? And what would be your proposal if you see any gaps in terms of how we could address them? The last question, Chair. There is an advisory board to the authority to which you've been appointed, and you are being nominated to be the Director General. So you'll be in charge of the day-to-day management of the center. Where do you draw your line with the board? Or where is the line between the responsibilities of the DG and that of the board? And how do you want to navigate them to ensure that the mandate of the center and the Director General, if we were to approve you, and that of the board are in constant harmony. Chair, I thank you.
Over to you, Nominee.
Thank you, Honorable Kaluma. Through the chair, the Financial Reporting Center, which is Kenya's financial intelligence unit, is established under Section 21 of POCAMLA, and its key mandate or objective is to assist in the identification of proceeds of crime, and also to assist in combating money laundering, terrorism financing, and proliferation financing. Broadly, the functions are collection, analysis, and dissemination of financial intelligence to law enforcement agencies and supervisory bodies. That's actually the core mandate. And the other mandate is supervisory or compliance mandate. And it does so in terms of registering reporting institutions, supervising them for compliance, assessing risks in those sectors, and remediation. The other broad mandate is policy formulation and advisories. And it does this in conjunction with the board. It advises the cabinet secretary and the other players in the AML space. The other complementary functions are training and outreach. So it's actually a core mandate, a key function. It does capacitates or builds capacity of the reporting sector, the supervisory bodies, and also the staff of the center. That is broadly the core mandate of the center. But the center does not operate in isolation. It works within a space where there are law enforcement agencies. It operates within a space where there are other financial intelligence units in other countries and other international bodies. So the other role, again, is cooperation, sharing information with other bodies within and outside the country. How will I enhance the attainment or the discharge of the function of the center? One, with my background in counterterrorism and operational management, one of the areas which I will deploy my skills in is enhancing the quality of disseminations, because that's a space I've operated in. And we will do this by building strong partnerships with the reporting sector, that is the industries, for quality reports. But more importantly, we'll build the capacity of the center to analyze and to disseminate quality, actionable financial intelligence to the report to the law enforcement agencies. Again, I will prioritize coordination, stakeholder engagement and coordination, because the role of FRC in the entire AML chain is just part one. There are other players who do the investigations, prosecutions, and recoveries. So as a national coordinator, as a key player in that space, I will bring on board my coordination and stakeholder management skills. In the CT space where I worked in, again, this is an area which had many stakeholders, both domestic and international. And I was able to do that very well. In terms of the role between the advisory board and the CEO, again, the FRC is a unique institution. The requirements of the FATF, that's recommendation 29, require that the financial reporting center of a country or the financial intelligence unit of a country has autonomy, so that's operational autonomy, and has the capacity to discharge its mandate. So if you look at the way it's structured and the way the board is structured, the board is actually advisory. It is not, strictly speaking, an oversight board. The role of the board is to advise the center generally on the exercise of its powers and also to participate in policy formulation and development of regulations. So as the CEO, one, I will ensure that the center remains or maintains that operational autonomy, but while at the same time facilitating the board to carry out its mandate. And then in terms of, I think the second question, sorry, I've jumped to the second question. Chairperson, it is true that we have put in place a fairly comprehensive legislative and institutional framework for combating not just money laundering, even terrorism and a host of other crimes. We have built institutions, but the threat of illicit financial flows, terrorism financing still persists. I would look at it in maybe two perspectives. One in terms of the threat. So the threat itself persists because of evolution. The terrorist criminals are becoming smarter. They are adopting technology. They are even using professional services to commit crimes. But the other element is to look at it in terms of a vulnerability. And maybe that is where that's where we should focus on. What vulnerabilities are these terrorists or these criminal groups exploiting? One, you will appreciate that we are located within a region where there is conflict. A good number of our neighbors are embroiled in conflict. We located within a region, again, where we have terrorist groups operating in those countries. And with our porous borders, these provide vulnerabilities where they exploit. Again, as a country, on a positive note, we have we are a communication, transport, and a financial hub. We have one of the most sophisticated financial systems, including the M-Pesa, in the region. And while it's a good thing, while it's a positive attribute for the country, it's also an area where criminals are exploiting to raise, move, and to conceal illicit funds because of the ease of movement, because of the ease of concealing, and the ease of accessing those facilities. Within the institutional framework, I would say maybe capacity issues are still there. And the reason is some of the areas which we are dealing with are areas which are resource intensive and require building capacity over time. A good example is the virtual asset space. That's an area which is new, and law enforcement agencies, even FRC, will require to develop capacity in that area. Then lastly, I think we still have challenges with coordination, and I think that's an area which we just need to improve on, still operating as silos. If we are able to enhance coordination between the different players in that space, I believe we will be able to close the gap. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honorable Mekamis, Kasim.
Chair, can I have a small clarification?
You may.
Yeah. I'm very happy with your diagnosis of the gaps we have. But tell me, what mutual legal assistance arrangements do we have with those countries around here in the matter of transnational crimes like anti-money laundering?
Proceed.
Thank you, Chair. On MLA, I think most of our neighbors, most of us are signatories to the primary international conventions touching on terrorism, money laundering, and transnational organized crime. That's the Palermo Convention and the Vienna Convention. So that alone provides a framework, a basis for mutual legal assistance and information sharing. With respect, but specifically, we have provisions under our MLA Act, which provide for handling of requests from different countries, and even for us, how our requests are handled. I can confirm that FRC itself has also entered into MOUs with several FIUs in the region for purposes of enhancing coordination and enhancing information sharing.
Yeah, I'm satisfied. I'm satisfied.
Thank you. Honorable Umikasi.
Thank you, Chairman. Nominee, congratulations for your nomination. I pray that you're going to be approved.
Thank you.
My question is a rejoinder of Honorable Kaluma's question, and it's on your core functions, dissemination, and you've spoken about coordination. And we know that FRC's core mandate is just to disseminate information, and you have no powers to prosecute or arrest. Then the perceived bottleneck between intelligence dissemination and actual convictions, how do you intend to improve your relationship between the prosecutors themselves? And in your earlier assignments, could you please tell us any you found yourself in any condition where you had external interference in the work that you do, and the successful, and how many, I don't know how to put it, how many cases do you think you conclusively concluded and prosecuted after you've given the information has been conclusively done from high interest persons? That is my question one. The second question I have, are there any areas of legal, you've spoken about legal instruments, any areas legal and policy reform within the AML, CFT and CPF ecosystem that you would propose for this committee to take up? Thank you.
Over to you, Nominee.
Thank you, Chair. May I proceed? Thank you. Through the Chair, Mheshimiwa. On the first question of which I perceive is how do we enhance the utility of the financial disseminations so that they trigger investigations and prosecutions and even asset recoveries. One is to deal with the quality of disseminations at the center level first. And as I've indicated, we will boost, or we will bolster the analysis function of the center by many initiatives, including even analysis or employing analytical tools. So once we address that, once we ensure that the quality of disseminations meet the operational needs of the law enforcement agencies, the next point would be to ensure that that information is actually utilized or put into good use. And the only way of doing this is, one, through proactive follow-ups. It's not just enough to disseminate. I will ensure that we follow up on those disseminations, feedback to establish what challenges the law enforcement agencies are encountering with our disseminations. But also we will ensure as a center that where we can, we build the capacity of law enforcement agencies, especially the analysis and the ability to utilize our intelligence. We will put in place collaborative mechanisms to ensure that the center, the EACC, the DCI, ARA, KRA, and the OTPP work together seamlessly so that there is seamless dissemination and utilization of financial intelligence. In my previous work, and we found this very useful, the multi-agency approach, especially in the counterterrorism space, it has worked very well. There is no reason why it should not work in the money laundering space as well. And there were many cases which we were able to process through that multi-agency approach, because you have the investigator, you have the prosecutor, you have everyone within one roof. In my previous experience, I did not interfere, or I did not witness cases of external interference. Perhaps maybe just to clarify, I have not worked in the office of the DPP. I've worked in the National Intelligence Service. I did not experience any form of interference with the matters which we dealt with. In terms of, but for the center, if there was to be a case of to contextualize, if there is a case of external interference, the law is very clear that the DG, the center, has operational autonomy and makes a call independent of any influence from any quarter. In terms of areas of legal reform or policy formulation, there are several areas, Chair, and even as we embark or as we pursue the exit of the country from the grey list, there are areas which are pending, or the areas which require legal reform. One of the areas which is pending in our action plan is the area touching on trusts. That's a legal arrangements which requires enactment or review of the current laws governing trusts. So this is one of the areas which, as a center, I think we will be looking to your guidance to help us fast track that bill. The other area, which again is an area for policy and legal reform, is touching on the designated non-financial businesses and professions, particularly the real estate agencies. The law that they currently operate in, the institutional framework that they currently operate in, requires to be beefed up, to be improved, and to be modernized, so that they are able to carry out their mandate as supervisors or as supervisory bodies. And I give a very good example. The Estate Agents Registration Board operates on a legislation which was enacted way back, I think in 1964, 65. So that's an archaic legislation which needs to be amended and to be modernized. Lastly, again, still on the area of DNFPPs, I think it's a discussion which we could have on whether the supervisory bodies which have been given the mandate to supervise their licensees within that space really do have the capacity, or whether that mandate should be done by the center itself. The center, I am aware, has done a lot of work in terms of building their capacity to be able to supervise their licensees. Lastly, Chair, in terms of legal reforms, perhaps maybe we could consider also expanding maybe the composition of some of the oversight boards, or sorry, some of the advisory boards, like the AMLAP, the Anti-Money Laundering Advisory Board, perhaps to incorporate some of the sectors like the Law Society and even maybe the estate agents as part of just bringing them on board. I think those are the few areas I can mention, but the action plan that we have, that we've signed up as a country, does have several areas for legislative reform. The bulk has been done. I think there are only two areas which are pending. I submit, Chair.
Thank you. FCP Oyulo.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. Chair, let me start by congratulating Mr. Ono for having been nominated to this position. Mr. Ono, from your explanation, it appears you have a lot of information with you regarding these POCAMLA issues. Now, I just have one or two questions. Our country, Kenya, has been listed twice, grey listed twice. First in 2011 and second in 2024. 2024 is not far off. Why was Kenya Grey listed in 2024? Secondly, Mr. Rono, what is the current status of the country's implementation of its ICRG action plan? And what, in your view, is hampering the country's delisting efforts? Thank you.
Over to you, Naftali.
Thank you, Honorable Oyula. And through the chair, it's true the country has been grey listed twice, first in 2010 and 2024. Just to give a context, in 2010, the country was grey listed mainly because of technical compliance. The FATF assessment regime or architecture assesses a country mainly on two areas, on technical compliance and the effectiveness. So in 2010, it was mainly on technical compliance, putting in place the necessary laws and the institutional framework. At that time, we had the legislation, but we had not operationalized it. So the bulk of the areas, of the issues, which took us to grey listing in 2010 were on technical areas. In 2024, when we went through the mutual evaluation exercise, which again is a requirement by the FATF standards that all countries which have signed up or who are members of FATF, either directly or indirectly, subject themselves or submit themselves to peer review. They are peer reviewed by the neighboring countries or other countries through the regional FATF regional bodies like ESAMLAC. So when we went through that process, a number of deficiencies were identified. There were few deficiencies touching on technical compliance, mainly on having a legal framework to regulate virtual asset service providers, which has been done by this House. There were other technical compliance areas, like having mechanisms to give effect to implementation of the targeted financial sanctions. So most of those areas have been addressed. And then, of course, the other area which has not been addressed was on having a law to govern beneficial ownership information, especially touching on trusts. The bulk of the issues, or the main reason which took us to ICRG process or grey listing, is on the effectiveness, basically demonstrating how well the institutions, how well the laws that we have in place are delivering, how well they are meeting the expected outcomes. In terms of prosecutions, for instance, how well are we doing? How many prosecutions have we conducted? How many investigations have we conducted? How many asset recoveries have we conducted? That is an effectiveness criteria. The other element was the appreciation of risks themselves. The mutual evaluation group established that the understanding of risks in the various sectors was not even. The financial sector appeared to understand the risks in that space pretty well, whereas the designated non-financial business and profession sector did not understand the risks. And as a consequence, there was no correlation between the mitigation measures that the country had adopted and the risk profile of the country. The other area was on what they call risk-based supervision. Again, the financial institutions demonstrated a fairly good understanding or application of risk-based supervision. The designated non-financial sector, unfortunately, was low, and it's not even. There are sectors within that group which have embraced or are doing well with the risk-based supervision, but there are sectors like legal sector, the real estate sector, which are not doing well. The other area was on prosecution of ML, that's money laundering, and terrorism financing, separate from the predicate offenses. And what they found out was that the country, yes, had done well in prosecuting terrorism, are done well in prosecuting the predicates, the corruption, forgeries, etc., the predicate generating crimes. But we had not done well in prosecuting ML as an offense and TF, that's terrorism financing, as an offense. The totality was we had done, the areas where we had done well as a country, but we did not have statistics. We did not have a good story to tell. That from disseminations done by FRC to the law enforcement agencies and eventually to prosecution and asset recovery, that consistency, that flow was missing, or that progression is what was missing. And that is what took us to grey listing. And lastly, in terms of the status, I am aware that as of today, we have addressed 10 items out of the 21 items in our action plan. So that means we still have 11 items in our action plan, and we have one more reporting cycle, that is in May. But I'm also aware that even for the items which we have not addressed, substantial work has been done. And we should be able to at least address maybe 5 to 6 other areas in the next reporting cycle. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Boni.
Thank you very much, Chair. First of all, let me congratulate you for being appointed to these posts, if you approved by Parliament. Yeah, I have a request.
No, switch off your mic. And CPR to switch off yours. So our audio team, I think, check on the. Try again now.
Yeah, I know. Thank you very much, Chair. I have 3 questions. The first question is that in February 2024, Kenya was put in the grey list due to strategic deficiencies in combating money laundering and terrorist financing. As the Director General, if you are approved by the House, you play a central role in coordinating national efforts to address financial action task force action plans items. What specific action are you going to undertake in your first 100 years to make sure that Kenya exits from the grey list?
I think on Abomboni you mean 100 days, not 100 years.
100 days. Oh, it was 100 years. Sorry, Chair, 100 years, nobody will be around. I think you have got the question. 2, if confirmed in this position, how do you intend to ensure that our international obligations, such as compliance with the Financial Action Task Force standards, do not undermine our security and national security? The last one, Financial Action Task Force assessment evaluation not only the existence of laws, regulations and institutional framework, but also the extent to which these measures produce measurable results under the Financial Action Task Force immediate outcomes, such as successful investigations, prosecution, conviction and assets recovery, and effective risk mitigation. How would you ensure Kenya demonstrates effectiveness beyond technical compliance? Thank you very much.
How about you, Nominee?
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Let me start with the last question because it's related to the one I answered last. On effectiveness, demonstrating effectiveness. This is an area which requires, it's not easy. It's a difficult area to demonstrate effectiveness. It requires, statistics. You must have evidence. You must have statistics. This is an area where you cannot address reactively. It requires that you have been working on it, building statistics, documenting the results. So one of the things which I will do in order to address the efficiency outcomes, one is to have a team, whose work is just to work on or to follow up on statistics and ensure that the efforts that we are doing as a country are documented. The other one, again, this area requires coordination, very strong coordination, for you to demonstrate, for instance, that the financial intelligence from the center has been utilized all the way. So one of the ways would be to establish coordinating or coordinative frameworks between the relevant agencies or law enforcement agencies to develop case management systems to track progression of cases from disseminations to prosecution. But most importantly, this requires constant review of our AML, CFT, CPF regime. This requires constant capacity building of the various sectors, and this requires constant outreach, and building strong partnerships with the reporting sector, that is the industry, building strong partnerships with the regulatory bodies. Because it's, as you've rightly indicated, or as mentioned, this is the second time we are being grey listed. We will be due for another review in 2031, and they will be looking on effectiveness. So our journey has to begin from now. We will not wait until 2031 to demonstrate effectiveness. We will, in 2021, we'll be demonstrating what we have achieved. In terms of the specific actions to, again, related to that, to exit from the grey list, if you look at the countries which have managed to exit from the grey list, we can borrow one or two things from what they have done. One is there has been very strong political commitment on the process. We have the political commitment, we just need to sustain it. Two is coordination. The countries which have exited the grey list have demonstrated very strong, very effective coordination of all the players involved in the removal efforts. So one of the ways, again, would be to, from the top, have a leadership or have a leadership forum, then from that leadership forum establish working groups dealing with specific issues. And then we just need to continue building capacity and resourcing the institutions which are charged or which are mandated to facilitate exit from this process. I will, within the 100 days, my goal will be to address at least 6 areas within the action list within the 100 days. I will seek to establish a technical committee between the FRC and the sectors which are not doing very well currently. Those are the designated non-financial businesses and professions. I will also seek to enhance the capacity of the center in the core areas to support these efforts, and essentially, specifically, the analysis function of the center and the compliance. And within 3 months, it's something which we can do in terms of recruitment or secondments and procuring the necessary tools to enable us effectively discharge on that mandate. I've mentioned the case management, which will be very key. And then having the close collaboration between the the leadership of the various agencies who are involved in this. If we do that,
When Ida was unlawfully fired from the teaching profession when she was teaching at Kenya High School in 1975, I was in standard 5, primary 5. Miguna was in primary 5. So now, after all these decades, Ida did not work. People say Ida is a great, businesswoman. No. Ida has not actually worked since 1975. Ida has primarily been Raila Odinga's wife. That's why she's known. And in any event, she's way past 75. What are you telling the youth out there? And when I talk about the youth, I don't just mean teenagers.
Yes.
I mean people who are between the age of 19 to the age of 45. Many of them all qualified. And this came after Ida criticized Oburu Oginga for working with Ruto. Then she goes right into bed with Ruto less than 3 months after her husband died. She has not mourned her husband for 6 months. This is a disgrace. Ideally, we should not go to elections to remove Ruto. We should remove Ruto on the streets, ideally. Ruto should be removed from power using popular uprising, popular protest. So it's what I would call popular revolution, as more recently done in Bangladesh. Having seen what happened in Tanzania and what happened in Uganda, it portends badly for Kenya and may encourage Ruto to do the kind of things that they did, hoping that because the world has done nothing about it, he will also get away with it. What I can tell Ruto, though, and this is what gives me courage. Number one, of course, Kenya is not Tanzania and it's not Uganda. And Kenya has reached a level of awareness, of consciousness, political consciousness, that is way above Tanzania and Uganda.